Good day, everybody. This is Michael Oliveris. I'm here with Stephen Shakhnevich, a renowned and highly experienced personal injury attorney. Hi, Stephen. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. And we had a session with you on the radio, Freedom FM, in Russian 2 weeks ago. And because we talked about a lot of very important and acute things that are interesting in personal injury practice, which usually could be dry, but we made it pretty interesting. And a lot of useful information was given. We're going to do the same thing now in English. And
Sure.
I just go through the most basic questions. And we're going to start with a very, I would say, acute question that concerns everybody. We didn't have a chance to discuss it before, but concerns a lot of people. A lot of people have their cars registered in one state, but they actually use them in a different state. For example, in our community, Poconos is very, very prevalent. Also, Sunny Isles, right? Miami. You see a lot of Florida plates in Brooklyn.
Well, the rates are cheaper, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So tell us, is there any kind of a pitfall or danger in doing that if anything happens from a standpoint of insurance?
Well, the answer is yes. And the reason is when we buy insurance, we make certain representations to the insurance company. And the insurance company assesses our risks and gives us our policy based on the information that we gave them. Okay. So if we're living in New York and we're telling them that we're living in PA or we're living in Florida, obviously the rates are cheaper because the risk is lower. However, as a consequence, if you are in an accident or there's damage to your car and you're applying for insurance benefits, that may become a problem because the insurance company will, like, for example, if your car is damaged in a hurricane or if your car is damaged, even putting the injuries aside, let's just talk about the very basic property damage claim. Let's say your car is stolen or damaged beyond repair, and your car is very expensive, and you live in New York and you register your car in Florida or you register it in Pennsylvania, the insurance company will immediately see this as being suspicious. And the insurance
companies, they're in the business not to pay, right?
They're in the business of paying you less or not paying you at all. Okay, that's how, you know.
They're going to find every excuse.
Now, by the way, from my experience, you know, the insurance companies are not looking to deprive you of what you're entitled to. The insurance company are looking to find a pretext to not pay you. Right. And if you violated the policy, and usually there will be an investigation conducted, and, you know, if you have a full-time job in New York, an in-person job, but you're representing that you're living in Florida, obviously that, you know, that raises enough for them to conduct an examination under oath and to conduct an investigation. And ultimately, there might be consequences where you're simply not going to get paid for your vehicle because you violated the terms of the policy.
It seems like it's not worth it. You save a few bucks, but if anything actually happens, especially if you have a high-end vehicle, right? Well, maybe you could get denied on your claim.
Look, just like everything else in life, 90% of the time you'll get away with it. But if you're not one of the 90%, there will be financial consequences. And when you buy insurance, most of the time, you know, brokers, you know, will sell you insurance. They're never going to challenge you or question the information you're giving them.
Right.
The outset, you get a much better rate. But if you're one of the, you know, few people that actually needs to use the policy, there might be consequences.
So on the same thought, what happens if you have kids who are, let's say, 18, 19? Should you include them on your policy? That makes the policy more expensive if you include them. What happens if you do not include them?
Well, if you have someone who is a teenager living in your home, your child, you're supposed to include them in the insurance policy. Now, if they're not, and they're in an accident, the insurance company will cover the loss. But going forward, they probably won't insure you anymore.
Okay, or they may give you a much higher rate.
They'll give you a much higher rate. You're supposed to include everybody who regularly uses your vehicle. If somebody uses your vehicle once in a while, they're not a regular driver on the policy.
Yeah, so what happens in such a case? What happens if you just lend your car to a friend for a night and he gets into a car accident?
That's fine. Anybody could use your car. But if someone is a regular driver for your car, then they have to be part of the policy.
I've seen somebody post an ad recently on Facebook that they have a car they're not using. On the weekends, you can rent out their car. Now, this becomes more of a commercial vehicle then. Would the policy cover if that renter uses the car?
I'm a personal injury lawyer. These are more insurance sales related questions. Generally speaking, if you're buying a policy for personal use, you cannot make a living. And if you're buying a policy that you're going to make a living on, then that's a different type of policy. So yes, commercial policies are commercial policies. If you're using your personal vehicle for a commercial purpose, that would be a policy violation, sure.
So I think the key here is disclosure. The more you disclose to the insurance company ahead of time, the less of an excuse they have to use it against you down the road if anything happens.
Well, that applies. Yeah, they give you a policy based on the representations that you make. Sure.
Okay. Now then, let's move into your realm, the realm of personal injury. Okay. I see a lot of attorneys, they advertise and they say, if you come to me, I will get a company that's going to fund your case. Meaning, I'm going to buy out, the company will buy out your case and you get money up front. Can you explain how this works and whether or not you recommend it?
Well, that's considered pre-settlement funding. They're not buying out your case. Basically, they're advancing small amounts of money to you at a very high rate. And in basic terms, your case is being taken as collateral. So it's kind of a secured loan, although the state of New York has determined for this not to be a loan. But they're giving you money. And when your case settles, we are, as attorneys, are required to pay the company back directly out of the client's portion of the settlement.
Okay.
I do not encourage that. I think that the rates are very high. And I think that unless you absolutely have no choice, I do not recommend this to my clients. There's one exception to this rule. Sometimes there is funding that is done directly for medical treatment. So I have clients that are in desperate need of surgery. They have no insurance. And that is the way that they could get their surgery done. The surgery will be paid for by a third party.
Right.
And at the end of the case, the third party will be paid back from the proceeds of the settlement. And if someone is in desperate need of medical treatment or somebody is in desperate need of surgery, that is one way the surgery could be done right away. However, if the client is asking for my advice as to whether they should take the money and put in their pocket, my answer is always the same. Unless you absolutely need it, do not do it, because
the math is not working, right? Because on average, let's say a case settles for $10,000, right?
Right.
The funding company would probably give just a small, minuscule portion of that upfront.
Well, the funding company charges 30 to 40% interest rate per year, compounded.
Okay.
And the reason that is even legal is because the state of New York has determined that this is not a loan.
So it's worth it to wait until the end, wait a year or so, whatever it takes to settle your case and get the full amount.
If you have that,
getting now,
if you have that option, the answer is categorically yes.
Okay, thank you.
I am not a big proponent of pre-settlement funding.
but you are a proponent of getting correct and proper medical care. And I understand that if somebody gets injured, you have medical professionals that you work with that you can refer patient or client to them for real treatment, because we see too often people get into car accidents, they get sent off to these mills which don't do anything for them. Whereas you work with true professionals, right? If somebody has
Well, I
pain or
don't.
so on.
Right. Just to be clear, I don't work with doctors, and I don't refer people to doctors. You know, I have, you know, there are doctors, there are specialists that are regularly, you know, that I regularly see that my clients
Yes.
use. And, you know, if you have knee pain, you know, it's not, you don't have to be a personal injury lawyer to know that if you have knee pain, you should see an orthopedist. Okay. And it would be your primary care doctor that would normally refer you to a knee specialist.
Right.
So if you have knee pain, you go to a knee specialist. And if you have shoulder pain, you go to a shoulder specialist.
Okay, Steven, very important question. God forbid you just got into a car accident. What are the top most important things you should do right away?
Well, you dial 911. Okay, that's not legal advice.
Yes.
You need to dial 911. A lot of times, the police does not respond immediately unless there is a serious injury. So when you dial 911, the police, the dispatch will always ask you, are there any serious injuries? If your answer is no, it'll probably take them a very long time to get to the scene of the accident. The good thing is, if there is no police responding to the accident, it does not mean you cannot have a claim. We have a lot of cases that we've settled for large amounts of money where there was no police report. As long as you have the insurance information of the other driver, you can make a claim. And I see more and more cases with police not responding to the scene.
That's because of COVID, right? These are the new regulations based on COVID?
I don't know what the reason is. I mean, it's just, again, there's no rule. I see it because we do a lot of cases and I see it as a pattern, but I don't know what the reason for that pattern is. But we have a lot of cases now, a lot more than we did 5-7 years ago, where there is no police report in the file.
But should you go to precinct afterwards, after the accident?
If you get into an accident and the police does not respond,
right,
and you the scene of the accident, if you go to the precinct, they will give you a form called MV-104 that you have to fill out and send it to Albany. You don't need to go to the precinct for that. You can go online, print out the form, fill it, send it in. Ideally, I would recommend seeing a lawyer first, because you know, having a lawyer by your side will just steer you in the right direction in terms of how to properly present the claim.
And what happens if you call the cops, you want to stay and wait for them, but the other party just gives you the information and they leave? That's perfectly allowed for them to just go? It's not considered, let's say, hit and run or something like that?
Well, I mean, you can't physically restrain anybody from leaving the scene of the accident. If the person leaves, I mean, you shouldn't. I mean, I'm definitely against using physical force to stop anybody from leaving the scene. But if the person,
thank you for the disclaimer. Yeah.
Right. But if you are leaving, you know, if you see the other driver leaving, you just have to, you know, take a photograph of their plates and get as much information as possible. If this is a New York state plate, when someone comes to our office with, you know, saying that I was in an accident, but the other driver left, but I was able to take the picture of the license plate. If this is a New York state license plate, we're able to pull the driver and the insurance information within minutes, make a claim to the insurance company. So if another driver, if you're in an accident and the other driver leaves the scene, that is not fatal to your claim. You could do a case. Will the other driver deny involvement? It's possible, but it's certainly not fatal if you don't have the other driver right there when the drives.
Awesome. Thank you. Very good. And all too often we see right away there's a lot of commotion when there's an accident. You have runners, they literally run through the scene of the accident and try to recommend an attorney to you. You have tow truck operators. You even have sometimes paramedics, EMS workers try to slip you a card of an attorney. Do you recommend accepting such a recommendation?
I mean, I'm not familiar with that, to be honest with you. I hear stories. The answer is absolutely no. I don't recommend that. Going to a lawyer is always better based on the recommendation of someone that has used a lawyer in the past. But certainly, if you're in an accident and someone comes up to you right there at the scene of the accident and says, I'll take care of you, I certainly do not recommend going along with that. So
is that even legal? Is that even legal for somebody a runner,
right,
to recommend an attorney at the scene of an accident?
It's absolutely not legal, but people make choices that are not always legal. But I don't recommend it.
But is it a good idea to program a phone number of a personal injury attorney in your phone in case something like this happens? Right away, you can call and you can ask for legal advice.
Look, I think
that's a good idea, no?
Right. I mean, I have clients that are with me for 10, 15 years. Okay. I've represented families. I represented families where I represented someone as a driver and they had their child in the back seat. Okay. And then years down the line, now I represent the child as a driver. Right. Okay? So I have people that are with me for years that certainly do have my phone number in their phone. And if something happened, they call me or they text me right away. I have certain clients that are, that just call me for advice all the time. So yes, the answer is yes, it's very helpful to do that. If there is
the point I'm trying to make, that even if you don't know an attorney as a friend or whatever, it's a good idea to have a phone number of a personal injury attorney in your phone, because you never know when an accident can happen. And right away, you can get qualified advice.
At the very least, at the moment where you're nervous or you're panicking, or this is your first experience in a car accident, at the very least, you can get basic information that will be very helpful. And my office, we do that all the time.
Yeah, because sometimes people would say they don't know what to say. They express bravado. They ask them, "Are you injured?" "Oh, no, I'm okay. I'm fine." But then turns out the real injury. Can those words be used against them?
Well, certain injuries do not manifest themselves right away. I mean, I've seen it just from experience of doing this for many years where, if you're right after the accident, you may not think that you're injured. And then a few weeks go by and you're still feeling pain in your back and the pain is getting worse. So it's, it's you, and when you speak to the insurance company, you don't necessarily, you make the statements based on the information that you have. If you're not feeling pain right after the accident, you will tell the insurance company that I'm fine. 2 weeks later, you start feeling pain. Again, this is not fatal to your case. You could still come to me and we'll still file the claim. But the reason it's always a good idea to call a lawyer at the outset, because the lawyer, when you speak to the insurance company, you try to give as much information as possible, and you try to, give as many facts as possible. And a lot of times, the facts that you give to the insurance company, even though you may think they're very helpful, you might be giving them the exact facts that the insurance company may need to make the case harder for you later on.
Right. So sometimes less is more. It's important to have an attorney represent you and be the intermediary between you and the insurance company.
In my experience, again, doing this for a long time, less is always better.
Right. Exactly.
The less information you give, the better off you are. And I always encourage my clients, when we go to court or we do depositions, I always encourage my client to only answer the question. We never volunteer information.
But I'm
Major
going to ask you to
Sure,
volunteer one more piece of information.
sure.
On a slip and fall case, somebody falls in the supermarket on somebody's sidewalk. Same question. What are the top most important things to do? Is it similar to a car accident? Of course, call 911. What else should you do?
Well, if you're injured, you go to the hospital. I mean, the first thing is obviously if you're in pain, it's natural to go to the hospital or go to urgent. I mean, when we fall down on the sidewalk, we don't necessarily think of a lawyer right away. Okay, it would be insane if you're on the sidewalk thinking about a lawsuit, right? So you get injured, you go to the hospital. You get treatment. Okay, you get your X-rays. A few days down the line, you could call a lawyer, and anytime you're injured, it's a good idea to call a lawyer as early as possible.
Does it make sense to take a video pictures of the surroundings of where the person fell right away, or come back to it?
We use professional investigators for that.
Okay.
So we don't.
Very good.
There are people that do this for a living. So if I fall, if you're never done this before, and you fall on the sidewalk and there is a hole in the sidewalk,
right?
You take a picture. I mean, it's probably not going to hurt the case,
right?
But it's always better to not be overly proactive. And it's better to always have a lawyer by your side for that.
Right. Let the professional handle it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's natural for us to kind of want to do our own, investigation. And I have clients that do that. And every time a client comes into my office with photographs, I always say, well, now you did some of the work that I was supposed to do. And that's good for me.
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with taking pictures of where you fell.
Yeah.
But it's not that if you don't take the picture right that moment, you don't have a case.
I understand. And by the way, those investigators, how would the client pay for them? Do they pay for them right away, up front, or how does that work?
Well, one of the best things about being a personal injury lawyer is that the clients don't have to pay anything out of pocket.
Okay.
And, it makes, it changes the whole dynamic of this relation. So if a person gets injured, we only get paid if the person gets paid. All the expenses, there are some expenses associated with filing a case. You have to hire an investigator, you have to have their filing fees. All of that by law, we as lawyers advance. When the case settles, that money goes back to us from the proceeds of the settlement. And in addition to that, we get a fee from every dollar that our client collects.
That's very good. That means you're interested. You're very much interested.
We are
obtain the most compensation for your client.
We are united in interest with our clients, and and there's never any risk of starting a personal injury case. If the case is not successful, there's no, the lawyers are not, we don't get paid unless the client gets paid. So there's literally zero risk in inquiring about a potential personal injury case. And by the way, we have clients that come to us where the accident happened 6 months ago. And they didn't think that, they should see a lawyer. And now 6 months down.
And how much time does a person have to file such a claim for personal injury?
That question and the answer to that will probably require us to do a whole new session. Okay. There are different time limits for every type of case. Just to give you some examples, in New York, you have 3 years to file a personal injury claim, unless it's a case against the city of New York, which is now 90 days. You have 30 days to file for insurance benefits if you're in a car accident. There are a million different timelines.
So, so it sounds like you should go to an attorney right away and not procrastinate, because you can miss a deadline. It's going to make your life easier, because you can collect evidence faster and more effectively, and potentially a client is not going to blow statute of limitations. So contact a personal injury attorney I would say
When
first
we
class.
when we see advertisements on buses, on TV where personal injury lawyers advertise themselves, call a lawyer right away. If you're in an accident, don't delay.
Right.
There is a lot of legitimacy to that. Yes, it's an
Absolutely.
advert. Yes, lawyers sell themselves. There's no question about it. But there is a lot of legitimacy to it because getting a lawyer at an early stage, right after the accident, just makes the whole process a lot easier. And the likelihood of you making a mistake is a lot less.
Perfect. Okay, Steven, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for making personal injury fun
Okay.
and productive. And I'm going to post your phone number on the bottom of the screen. If anybody has any questions, they can call you. And with your permission, I'm also going to tag your Facebook page so people can message you directly on Facebook, either through your personal account or through your firm's page on Facebook. Okay?
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.